Hi, I'm Larry Trocha, and today I want to give you a couple tips on bridling your horse. We have a curb bit on this horse today, and I'm going to show you the way I like to unbridle him. You notice I put my right hand between his ears and guided the bit out of his mouth so it didn't bang his teeth. So if I was going to bridle this horse, the first thing I'd do is put the headstall in my left hand. Take my right hand, put it between the horse's ears, and see how he drops his head when I press down with that hand? All right, now I take hold of the headstall with my right hand. My left hand, the fingers guide the mouthpiece into the horse's mouth, and my thumb goes into the corner of the horse's mouth to open it, okay? And then I raise up on the headstall to bring it up into his mouth. I take the offside ear, move it forward, put it into the slot, take the near side ear, move it forward underneath the headstall, and I've got it. Now, the next thing I want to check is the adjustment, okay? The bit is up snug into the corners of the mouth. It's not tight, it's not stretching his mouth, and it's not loose. It's not hanging halfway down out of his mouth either. It's just up into the corners and snug. Now, some horses are going to work better with the bit a little higher in their mouth. Some horses are going to work better with the bit a little bit lower in their mouth, okay? Now, the next thing I want to check is the adjustment of the curb chain. And, you know, the old rule of thumb is to take two fingers, put it between the horse's jaw and the curb chain, and that's good enough. Well, that's not a very accurate measure for the adjustment. What you really want to check is the length of travel of the shanks. Now, these shanks are moving between 2 and 3 inches before they take effect. And that's just about right. Kind of depends on the bit, depends on the horse, but as a rule of thumb, that's pretty good. If the shanks will only move about a ½ inch before it takes effect, well, you know the curb chain is too tight and it needs to be loosened up a notch. If the shanks move so much that they're coming way back here, well, that's too much, and you know you need to tighten up the curb chain. Now, I get quite a few emails from people that are having trouble bridling their horse, and there's certain things you can do to make that horse better to bridle. As you saw earlier, when I put the bridle on this horse, when I put my hand between his ears, he lowered his poll, okay? Teaching your horse to do that is key to having a horse that's easy to bridle. I also teach my horses to bring their nose to me when I want them to. So between bringing their nose to me and lowering their poll, I can put their head wherever I want it to bridle them. So the first step in teaching your horse to do that is to take your fingers and your thumb and you put it right behind the horse's ears, okay? And you exert some downward pressure. Not a lot, just enough to make it uncomfortable for the horse. And if he moves his head down even a fraction of an inch, you release that pressure and pet him, okay? And then you go right back to it, put pressure, he drops his head a little bit, you release the pressure and pet him until he understands that dropping his head off that pressure is what relieves that pressure and he gets the reward. And pretty soon you'll be able to just put your hand up there and he'll just drop his head as much as you want. Same thing with controlling his nose. I'll take my fingertips and put it on the bridge of his nose, just on the opposite side of his nose. There's a little nerve that runs along there, and I just put a little pressure on that, not a lot. I put my hand here to steady his head, and I put a little pressure on his nose. When he brings his head just a little bit, I release that pressure. Put a little pressure on his nose, he gives it to me a little bit, I relieve that pressure. Until pretty soon, I can put his head wherever I want it with just pressure from my fingers, okay? Once you've got that, then bridling the horse is a piece of cake, okay? Now, this isn't gonna happen overnight. You're not gonna get it done in one day, But if you're consistent over a period of a week or two, you really shouldn't have any problems.